It's raining, can you hear it? So, I'm not making a cocktail for this video. I just kind of wanted to give an overview of Tiki. This whole month, I've done different Tiki cocktails for each video. So I wanted to really just talk about that genre of drinks as a whole. And it is pretty loosely defined. You know, there's not a specific set of criteria that constitutes a Tiki drink. Typically, you're gonna find a blend of rums and a blend of juices, but not always is there going to be rum, not always is there going to be juice, etc., etc. It was Don the Beachcomber who really started the modern tropical drinks movement. He opened his first bar in California in the 1930s, and drawing a lot of inspiration from real Polynesian culture. The word tiki actually refers to carved idols, like you might think of small or tall, like similar to like a totem pole. Originating in New Zealand, but found in many different Pacific cultures. Now you can really hear the rain. But so, you know, that brings us to this idea that a lot of what's associated with Tiki drinking really does draw on people's real lives, and it's sort of making a fun party out of, you know, things that people once and still really believe in, and as part of their heritage. So the idea of it being inappropriate cultural appropriation comes up a lot with Tiki, and there's definitely like a real basis in that belief. I'm going to put a link to an article down below from punch.com talking to people who have heritage from different Pacific cultures. A white person who grew up in suburban Pennsylvania is probably not the end-all and be-all authority on these kinds of opinions, so I think that's definitely worth reading if Tiki is something that you do have an interest in. To me, going forward, I think the important thing to remember is that it's about escapism, you know? It's about having one cocktail that can turn your night into a vacation. And I think as long as we can hold on to that spirit and move forward respectfully, it's a really great opportunity to keep this Tiki tropical drinks culture alive and strong. On that note too, you know, Tiki mugs are typically modeled after real gods of different cultures, and sometimes they are caricatures of that. So you'll notice I actually picked up some glassware. I got this all at a local thrift store, spent less than $5, and I think that that's a really fun way to still embody that same spirit of tropical drinks without using those Tiki mugs. Though I did use those in some videos, and I was going back and forth. I honestly kind of regret it now. But moving on to supplies, this is all of the alcohol that I used for my different Tiki drinks. This is mostly rum. Appleton is definitely worth noting. I think that for most Tiki recipes, you can substitute this and you can make a pretty delicious cocktail. You know, Appleton with any of these accoutrements is going to make a pretty great Tiki drink. I did want to make sure that I got a rum agricole. I got this Duquesne aged rum agricole. It's rum agricole is made from sugarcane juice rather than being made from molasses or any of the other ways that you make rum. Then another thing I wanted to make sure I got that comes up pretty frequently is having an overproof Demerara rum. Hamilton 151. These two I bought online. They're not available nearby. Smith & Cross I often have around. This Benedictine I actually borrowed from a friend. Cointreau, gin, mezcal, white rum, those are all things I had otherwise. Cherry Hearing I got because I definitely wanted to do a Singapore sling video, and there's really not a specific substitute for this. I'm probably gonna have this bottle forever because it's not used in much else. And then this Falernum that I have is from Maggie's Farm Rum here in Pittsburgh where I live. This is available online. They make this, it's a delicious little product, very limey and spicy. So that's as far as spirits. And then as far as juice, for fresh juices, I really only use lime and grapefruit. And then I made a pineapple juice syrup. You don't even have to do any of these things fresh. I honestly think, unless you're making Tiki drinks every day, that having something shelf stable, just that you can have in a cabinet, just so you know you can have drinks ready on short notice. Then I also have a cinnamon syrup, orgeat, which is almond syrup. I make mine with almond milk and sugar, really easy. Honey syrup is just honey and water. And then I did do a peach honey syrup for one cocktail. That was just really to have some fun. And then I made a homemade allspice dram, which this is essentially rum that I infused with allspice and then added a little bit of cinnamon sugar syrup. So really simple there. And then in terms of garnish, you know, I didn't want to buy a lot of plastic disposable things. The best garnishes, I think, are ones that are consumable. Fresh herbs are great garnishes. I used mint in several. I did buy straws for this because we're using crushed ice most of the time, so it's harder to drink without a straw. Otherwise, I think straws are mostly unnecessary. Paper straws also not very effective, but I'm also not someone who thinks that straws are the devil. And then I got these cocktail umbrellas. I got these at a little vintage store. They were like $1 for the whole pack, and I just think they're fun. I know they're wasteful, and that goes against, you know, some of the other preachy garnish things I've said, but I like them. And then flash blending. Flash blending is something that comes up in a lot of tiki recipes. You'll see that in other cocktail videos on the internet. And that's when you have like the Hamilton Beach sort of milkshake blender. I didn't want to buy something like that just to make these cocktail videos, and I live in a pretty small apartment, so I like to keep my appliances to a minimum. I do have this immersion blender. It's just a corded handheld blender, and you can use something like this to flash blend as well. I did try that, and I found it to be very effective personally. It's a lot. It's not fun to show you in a video every time I make it. I'd rather just shake it and strain it. On that note, what I did actually end up doing was I would put ice in a food processor. That's how I would make my crushed ice. So more crushed than a pebble or a pellet ice. But I found it to be very effective, and I would just shake over regular ice, strain over that. A lot of people will tell you to shake with crushed ice, but it's really difficult to control your dilution that way. So personally, I don't recommend it. I don't like that method, but to each please. I got this silicone ice cube tray to make pebble ice, but I didn't like it. It makes little cubes. They look cool, but they don't really work the same way as like a round pellet might. And then as far as resources I would recommend, if you do want to set up a whole tiki bar at home, I got the Smugglers Cove cocktail book, which I strongly recommend. This is a bar in San Francisco, and it's a really comprehensive collection of recipes. Talks a bit about their history, but also these are recipes that have been tweaked to the bartender's palate. So modern versions of some of these classic tiki recipes. Jeff Berry, Beach Bum Berry, wrote a couple of books. He spent 30 years, most of his adult life, researching all these tiki recipes, and without him, we wouldn't know most of these drinks today. But what he was really striving for was finding accuracy, and those recipes don't necessarily sync up with a lot of what we expect in modern cocktail bars. So his books are good as a resource, as a jumping off point, and then his Total Tiki app is really great too, because you can, for example, you can put in 3 of your rums, 2 of your juices, and it'll tell you all the different drinks that you can make with those ingredients. So that was actually a really handy resource for me throughout this process. Minimalist Tiki is another book I'd recommend. I actually have a copy of it on the way. That really does do sort of a broader version of what I'm trying to do right now. You know, saying the bare minimum that you need for a home tiki bar, but I wanted to scale it back even more than that. All of those things, and then also I would say Reddit has been a really great resource for me. There's a tiki subreddit. There's a lot of people who are really passionate about tiki bars, Hawaiian shirts, and all of these rum-based cocktails, and many of them have been very helpful when I've had questions or wanted to ask someone's opinion. That's been a great place to go. Thank you all for checking all of this out. There's a playlist of all the tiki cocktails that I've made, and I'll probably do some more tiki drinks in the future. I do really like it. I recommend checking out tiki bars in your area and see how they do things differently from what you've seen me do or what you might do at home. And yeah, that's all I got. Please do subscribe. I'm gonna do another themed month for September coming up. Not tiki, obviously. And leave a comment down below of what you think about anything I just said. Thank you.